On this channel, we try to avoid talking about deep and serious topics. The world is filled with deep, serious, frankly depressing topics. In my chaotic corner of the internet, I want to feel good. I want to feel cozy and I want to feel good. So therefore, we avoid deep and serious topics and we invite silly and shallow. Silly and shallow. That's what we do here. That's my niche. That describes me to a T. Perhaps it describes you. It's not an insult. We embrace shallow. So we talk about topics like sad beige millennials, what people wore in the 17th century, fashion history. That's my passion. Recently, I came across a transgression that I cannot even put into words. It is a transgression that has offended me in every way a person can be offended. And then some. It offended me in places that I didn't even know existed inside myself, in my soul, in my heart. Down to the very marrows of my bones was I offended by this. So today we're actually going to get serious here. We're going to even try to get a little deep here. It's hard to do, being so shallow. This is a topic that involves not just me, it's not just my offense, but you. You, man, woman, old, young, it touches you all. Every single one of us has at some point in our lives, with the exception of a few crusty-footed individuals, every single one of us has worn socks. I recently came across a New York Times article, New York Times, very prominent publication, a sock war is afoot between millennials and Gen Z. There it is. Gen Z, you've been busy. You've been busy in your mocking. You're a generation that just loves to mock old people. And by old people, I mean millennials, my generation. My generation. First, they came after our skinny jeans. Then they came after our side parts. And now once the smoke has cleared from the skeleton of our self-esteem, we used to think we were young and cool, and now it turns out that we're old. Now they're coming after our socks. What more? What more? The sock war is afoot. So that's what we're going to talk about today. This recent developments in this intergenerational war between Gen Z and millennials. Gen Z shaming and mocking millennials for their fashion choices and millennials clapping back. And no matter what generation you fall upon, Gen Z, millennial, Gen X, boomers, we can all agree upon one thing. Everybody kind of hates millennials, which makes my job harder as a public defender of millennials. I'm not a real lawyer. I just play one on YouTube. And during my first ever case of the people versus the millennials' choice, the millennials' God-given right to spray paint their kids' toys so that it could fit aesthetically in their sad beige rooms. Personally, I call it a Scandi room, but the court of public opinion, justice will be served today. We, the jury, find the defendant guilty on all charges. And I lost that case. I lost it hard. The court of public opinion has ruled against my generation, which really sucks. But now we're going to talk about a sock war is afoot between millennials and Gen Z. I like the pun here, afoot. The writer of this article, they probably went to journalism school, probably hoping to win a Pulitzer or something. Woodward and Bernstein was their goal. It's cracking open the Watergate scandal. Instead, they're writing an article about socks. So they're probably a millennial. We have all fallen. We have all fallen from grace. We entered 2020 and we left uncool. Our skinny jeans are uncool. Our clothes are uncool. Our clothes are actually now just part of fashion history. My name is Teresa, and this is Millennial Fashion History. We're not going to spend 20 minutes talking about socks. Socks. So if memory serves me right, 2020 was a changing point for a lot of things in our daily lives. In a time of crisis, unlike natural disaster movies that bring people together, like you remember that 1997 movie Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche, I believe. I don't know. This is a very random movie to pull up, but I'm a millennial. I was alive during that time. Everybody put aside their differences while the volcano was spewing liquid hot magma over LA. Like people had their quibbles and their arguments, and they all came together. They all came together to fight this volcano. And at the end of the movie, everyone was covered in gray ash, and a little boy said, "Everybody looks the same. We're all the same." And I had always thought that, during a time of crisis, Americans would just band together, put aside our differences and band together. But that turned out not to be true. If that turned out to be the opposite in 2020, we didn't band together. We came apart. We came apart at the seams. In every way, one can come apart. But it turns out that natural disaster movies, the positive message from natural disaster movies were kind of a lie. So that really sucked. And then I remember entering 2020, millennials were kind of at the top of their game. I mean, they didn't really own much of the property or hold much of the wealth. The millennial that holds the most wealth out of all of us, is Mark Zuckerberg. He owns like 90% of the millennial wealth. But, we felt cool. We were relevant in this cultural zeitgeist. And we entered 2020, and it was as if we went through this funnel, this meat grinder, if you will. We went through this gauntlet, and the gauntlet is lined with like Gen Z and also other people, Gen Z sympathizer. The gauntlet is lined with people with clubs and maces and bats and boards with nails on them. Slowly but surely, we were just kind of beaten into submission. First mocked and shamed for skinny jeans and the side part in favor of the middle parts. And now they are mocked and shamed for their no-show socks or their ankle socks in favor of crew socks. If your socks don't go up to your shin, you're old. You're old and uncool. You're like a horse that needs to be brought to the glue factory is what we're saying here. So that has happened to my generation. I don't know how we came to this point that we're quibbling about sock length. There was this headline, Jennifer Lawrence, a millennial, stepping out in millennial socks. One of the cornerstones of millennial fashion is to wear no-show socks or ankle socks. Short socks that don't go up to your shin. The telltale sign of being younger and cooler and just more with it is crew socks. Now, as a millennial, this doesn't offend me as I led you to believe in the intro because I have a wide variety of sock length in my sock drawer. I have no-show socks, ankle socks, and crew socks. I may not be an early adopter of the trend train when it comes to clothes, but in terms of footwear, I feel like I'm ahead of the game. I was wearing Reebok Court C85s 2 years before it was popular. 2 years ago, I started wearing crew socks. I have some receipts of crew socks being worn. I feel like in terms of socks, okay, this is going to be deeper than anybody can handle, deeper than somebody as superficial as I can handle. When you curate your sock drawer, you have to diversify your sock length. Socks are like stocks and socks. As with stocks, and this is not financial advice, don't take financial advice from somebody as shallow and slightly stupid like me, but you can't just put all your eggs in one basket. You can't just put your life savings in one stock. You got to diversify, you got to have different kinds of socks, not just one sock. You just can't no-show your way through life and expect to be okay when there's a downturn in the no-show market. You can't just rely on ankle socks for the rest of your life. Something is going to happen with pants that affects the value of certain different types of socks. Ankle socks and no-shows rely upon skinny jeans and leggings, right? The accoutrements of the skinny jeans, the ankle boots. This is where we see the tiny sock come into play. When the day comes when there's a skinny jean legging shortage, that will affect your socks. And then you'd be shit out of luck. You're stuck with a drawer full of tiny socks, and everybody's shaming and laughing at you. Look at those ankles. Kids are shaming and laughing at you. You know, Gen Z, they like to mock. That's like one of their traits. I think they learned it from their grandparents, the boomers. They like to mock the millennials. Millennials, we're really like the person that you kick on the playground. You got a big kick me sign pinned to you. Gen Z's kicking you. Boomers are kicking you. Gen X is probably, they're out of the conversation. Like, they don't get into this intergenerational squabble, but if given the chance, they'd probably kick you too, because you're putting all your eggs in one basket with your tiny socks. You got to diversify in the great footwear ETF. I think that maybe that's a trend. Millennials, they like the skinny jean, another cornerstone of the millennial wardrobe. And then you just go buck wild over skinny jeans. You gotta replace all your boot cuts and your wide legs from the early 2000s. You know, like maybe you keep them, maybe you don't. Being a stereotypical millennial, I'm assuming that you got swept up in the great decluttering purge of 2016 through 2019 or so, like I did. And you got rid of it all. You held these pants in your palms. Did it spark joy? And then you let them go. And now you've put all your eggs in one basket. You got your Lululemon tights, and then your skinny jeans, and your socks, your uniform socks. My God. In this sense, I feel like my generation is just asking for it. I mean, if a person sunk all their life saving in crypto, if they sunk all their life savings in one stock and then just replace stock with socks, when the market goes down and the cultural value of your socks drop, so then you're shit out of luck. So you've got to invest in different kinds of footwear, no-shows and anklet socks, crew socks, and maybe you even need to get those 70s tube socks. You know, 2 years ago, I got really into the 70s. So I was on the lookout for some retro striped 70s socks. And you can see them in this picture right here. You can see these socks. They kind of look like Charlie Brown socks, but they make me happy. They spark some joy in me. So unlike my fellow millennials, I've diversified in the sock market. I did get rid of my stockings though, because, you know, like, who has stockings for 10 years? Stockings rip. In the crotch area, they rip. There's a lot of activities that went on down there. So the lesson here, my fellow millennials, is diversify in the sock market, and then you'll have a safety net for your footwear future. So next time somebody comes up to you and makes fun of your socks, you have other socks in your arsenal, and not all is lost. You didn't lose your shirt or your socks. That's not financial advice. That's footwear advice to safeguard against the future of Gen Z's mocking and shaming. So I would just like to point out that I feel like shaming a millennial is a useless endeavor. Millennials are accused of being narcissistic. We were raised by the boomers, the most narcissistic generation there is. No offense. Just consider this boomer humor. So narcissism, is it wrong? If millennials are indeed narcissists, a narcissist is technically on the same level as sociopath. Like, you have to be a sociopath in order to be a narcissist. Whether the severity of your sociopathy is on a spectrum from sociopath to narcissist, and then, you know, as you go up the spectrum, serial killer is like the worst. If a narcissist is basically a sociopath, one cannot shame a sociopath. So the shaming of millennials, it's a Sisyphean. It's a Sisyphean endeavor. You know, Sisyphus is the guy who annoyed the gods, was doomed to roll this rock up a hill to no point at all. Disclaimer, if you're a millennial and you happen to own some of these items that are considered very millennial and therefore uncool to Gen Z, maybe to the boomers, maybe everyone around you think it's uncool, you cannot be shamed. There's something in your brain that doesn't feel shame. In fact, you might even want to try to double down on these items and wear them out of spite. Spiteful styling. Let's make that a thing. You can go to the thrift shop and buy up all these skinny jeans, probably very expensive skinny jeans at the time. You get the good stuff, that good denim at a fraction of the price because somebody didn't want them. So sucks for them and more for you. If somebody pokes fun at your skinny jeans or they give you the side eye, wear them proudly. Let the denim stretch over your thighs. I have a grudging respect for people that know how to spite and spite well. There is probably some millennial out there that hears that skinny jeans are out of vogue, out of fashion, have been mocked by the younger generation. And instead of capitulating to this mockery, they really lean into what they love. And if they love skinny jeans, then I encourage them to just go to the thrift shop and buy the best pair of skinny jeans because people have donated them. Go get them. Get them, maybe lay them out on your bed and take a picture of you rolling around in them. You are just reveling in your spiteful purchase of skinny jeans, and I'm happy for you. So spite is something that in our society is kind of discouraged. I think it's a bad emotion. Did somebody say that it was a bad emotion? Thou shalt not spite. Let me see. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. So it's fine. It's fine to spite. Wear your skinny jeans. Everybody says don't do it, so spite them, my fellow millennial women. Spite them. Hear this. Thou shalt spite and thou shalt smite with the sight of your skinny jeans and your short socks and your side part. Oh, that was a good alliteration right there. I got a very vicious comment once against millennials, called them party rock anthem motherfuckers. So that person, my fellow millennials, that person needs to be spited. I love the image of a millennial just reveling in her skinny jeans, just greedily reveling in skinny jean gluttony, listening to all the millennial songs, some Lumineers, that percussion, that drum, just listening to her Taylor Swift, listening to her party rock anthem. Then once she's done spiting, she's gonna take a long, cool, refreshing drink from her Stanley cup because, spiting makes you thirsty. Maybe she owns skinny jeans of every color of the rainbow and she has a Stanley cup to match. And I love that for her. So if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like. And if you didn't enjoy this video, then do the opposite. Give it a dislikes right there. And if you're somehow down with spiting, the art of spiting and being slightly sociopathic, then you're my kind of person. You are my ideal subscriber. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next time. Are you a millennial who has been mocked and shamed by both boomers and Gen Z and even Gen X? They're taking a crack at you too. Have they been mocking your side part and your skinny jeans and dragging your interior design choices online, dragging you through the coals, and you feel like you have nobody? Now it's time to fight back. I may not be a real public defender, and I may not be a real lawyer, and I may be a babbling moron. Just know that I empathize with you, and I get angry for you. And if you subscribe to Teresa's Chaotic Corner, I'll fight for you. I will fight for you. Teresa got me a new pair of pants.